that we definitely don't do in Philips is to innovate, to sustain innovation. Innovation happens to sustain the business, and that's the key. I just don't agree that we have to keep sustaining the innovation in the company. I would say we are answerable to our shareholders, we are answerable to our customers, we are answerable to provide the best service, support, capabilities, and the best technology that's available in the market to serve our customer needs. And in that sense, we need to sustain all of those, and innovation has to help us do that. So it's a process to become sustainable. Please.
I have two questions. One is, in the 1980s, we had this education system being, the syllabus was updated once in 15 years. We shifted on to the 90s where it was updated every 10 years. And in 2000, we saw that it was updated every 5 years. Now we see that in 2010 to 2015, we are seeing that the syllabus in all education institutions have to be updated every 72 hours to meet the challenges of the download or the speed of information that is being shared. Now, there's a big gap between what the corporate wants and the education institutions are able to supply. There's about only 15 to 20% of the population which is being churned out every year are employable by corporates. So what is that innovation that we seriously require, since this is a critical issue? What is the leadership in innovation that we require from the corporates actually being a guiding light to the institutions? Question one. Second is, when we're talking about innovations, we are connecting the ultimate objective is about the revenue, enhancing the top line or the bottom line. But when we talk about innovation, it's all about ideas, creation, and most of it are killed at a stage when it does not meet the vision, mission statement of the organization. So the question is whether we should focus on with an island approach or an ivory tower approach where we talk about innovation within the organization, or those innovations which are not matching my organization, why don't I transfer it to where it can make relevance or match the relevance or of the vision and mission of other places? So why can't we work on a collective or a you grow, I grow kind of approach? And why do we kill it in the organization and live in islands?
Maybe I'd like to answer the first part, because I believe there's a misunderstanding between the industry and education institutes. Actually, this turnaround of know-how, so far I know, the Maxwell's equation haven't changed, thermodynamic equations haven't changed. All the fundamentals haven't changed since years. And we do not need people which know the newest Microsoft application or the newest router algorithm. What we need as industry is people which have very solid fundament in natural science, engineering science. And that is something which we don't get. So what I would really, I'm voting for an education on very basic know-how, because the industry is able to train them into the domain. For example, we are in the automotive domain. Of course, an ECU controller are changing every 18 months, according to Moore's law. But the fundamentals of a combustion engine hasn't changed in terms of thermodynamics. And we need people which understand that. And this is something where I would have a big change, that we concentrate in education more on fundamentals and releasing engineers which have really a good base and not up-to-date or actual fashion know-how, because we will anyhow train them in our domain. This is number for the first question of you. Second question, you are right. There's a big problem in big organizations that good ideas are not considered because they're not in line with the organization or not in line with the mission and vision and mission statement, and they're not considered. That's actually the art of organization, also to give these people a forum. And we do not have a good answer, frankly spoken, on that, but we are working on this. We want to have, and we're just organizing ourselves, a forum independent from an organization where we have venture capital also to let this kind of organization grow if the people are able to provide a business plan for that. But you have addressed a real problem which particular big organizations have challenges because organizations have legacies, they have to lose something if they change, and innovation is something new. That means there's a change necessary, and we have to overcome this. And our answer is to bypass the organization, create a new small unit for that to establish new business.
I'll take the second part of your question. And the first part, I think, is a pretty self-evident. As a former academic, and I have Professor Krishnan here who can speak much more informed on the need for government and industry and education to be together. On the second part, I think you're correct in the sense that most companies, and it ties it to the sustainability question. When I discuss with companies that I want to work as a partner, if I hear them talking about how to sustain market share, how they're going to maintain the market share, or how they're going to keep their success. I mean, you know, I tell people, don't worry about your trade secrets. No one wants to steal it. No one wants to know about it. It is not that interesting. It is like Samuel Johnson reviewed a paper and wrote back saying, this is original and it is interesting. Unfortunately, what is original is not interesting, and what is interesting is not original. And I would argue that very often the stuff that is so-called trademarks, so-called patents, are useless inside a company. And then what happens is you try to protect everything. You can't tell the good and the bad. It is when you lose sight of what is relevant and not. And because somebody is paying the researchers for a patent, then they get their work defined by patents. The lawyers are set up to do the patent application. And that's when you start having these kinds of silos. Having said that, I think these collaborative innovation models are the future, because I don't think any one company can succeed today. It is going to be an ecosystem of partners. How well can you share? How well can you grow things together? Then immediately lawyers will come, who owns the intellectual right? I go into these discussions on a daily basis. When I have partnerships, the first thing I have to answer is, who owns the intellectual right on this? Who owns the customer? I'm like, are you kidding me? We haven't even made the product, and we are spending time now, who owns the intellectual rights? And I think that is the kind of mindset that we have to change going forward. So
my question was basically focused on the concern that in the immediate future, it's not the large enterprises that we're talking about from yesterday and today, which are more focused, and we are focused on the innovations that large enterprises have been indulging in. But it's also about the small scale industries, the small and medium enterprises, and so also the micro units, which will be the future growth engines for India's economic growth and in the coming years. So the kind of calibration that is required to utilize the innovation effort which is going there in terms of process, as well as the kind of the methodologies adopted in these organizations, if it is put in the public domain, a lot of collaboration can be done on a free source, that what we've been talking about, instead of throwing it out of the window.
I think you sort of answered your question in the second part, more or less. I think the key issue, and this is what essentially happens in Silicon Valley, right? You go to Silicon Valley, you find that people have lots of ideas in their companies. They first offer those ideas to their management and say, can you let us develop these products here? The company finally says, no, we're not interested. Those guys take their ideas and walk out of the company. I mean, agreements and all those things are a different part of the story. But ultimately, when they find very little support for their ideas within their large organizations, they go out, they go and meet angel investors, they get VC funding, and they set up their own enterprises. So essentially, I think the answer to the first question you asked is very simple. When the external environment and support for entrepreneurship, for innovation, for creating new ventures gets enhanced, you'll automatically create a market for people to get out of companies with their ideas, if the ideas are not of interest to the management, and these ideas will find a new place to grow in new companies that are set up. And that's essentially the environment which I think all of us and the government and everybody needs to create.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'd like to move to the next section.
Just one question.